According to a new report, Wendy Williams does not have frontotemporal dementia.
Y'all have bad blood for a while.
Real bad.
Real bad blood.
The worst blood.
The worst blood. You almost wanted to run you out of New York at one point, right? Well, not run, like push you out of New York at one point. He had you ran out. You give him full credit for that? Okay, cool. He had you ran out of New York.
I feel like the Guardian has not done a good job of protecting my mom.
Wendy Williams finally speaking out has slammed the entire industry with a truth bomb they spent years trying to bury. Because the new test results proving she was never suffering from dementia aren't just shocking, they're the smoking gun that exposes one of the darkest, most calculated takedowns the entertainment world has ever orchestrated. And as Wendy begins revealing who really paid to destroy her, the entire timeline of her disappearance suddenly lines up in ways that feel intentional, strategic, and funded by people who had everything to lose if she kept talking. And before we go deeper into how this whole machine moved to silence her, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because this is exactly the kind of story powerful people want erased, and the more eyes on it, the harder it becomes for them to bury Wendy again.
Wendy Williams, she got fired from Hot 97 because she had a picture of Puffy. So if you don't mind, give me the story from your point of view, and what was in the picture?
We were in Cancun. For whatever reason, dude was playing with Puff. He went behind him and grabbed his trunks and pulled them down. Some girls that was taking pictures. They took that picture and emailed it back to Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams said she had him in a compromising position and like he was gay, something like that. She was gonna put it out. Wendy had shown people that email. Puff told Hot 97 if they didn't get rid of her before he got back in New York, that they was not gonna get any music from any of his friends, any of the record labels executives that was cool with him. Everybody was gonna boycott their station. We was out in LA for about 3 days before we landed back in New York. Wendy Williams was in the radio station in Philly. He was fired.
Now, everything begins with that elite New York neurologist who finally tested her properly after years of blocked evaluations, discovering that Wendy did not have frontal temporal dementia, did not have aphasia, and did not show symptoms anywhere close to the conditions used to justify taking over her finances, medical decisions, and personal freedom, meaning her diagnosis was not a medical mistake, it was a convenient tool. Wells Fargo was the first to insist Wendy was incapable of managing her finances and pushed aggressively for a guardian who immediately took total control of her accounts, home, communication, and care. And the moment this guardian stepped in, Wendy's alleged decline accelerated suspiciously fast. Her guardian and team portrayed her as confused, unstable, forgetful, and unable to comprehend reality. Yet her son Kevin Jr. revealed that this very same team was allowing her to drink alcohol while claiming her dementia was alcohol-induced, and they were blocking her family from knowing where she was, who was treating her, and what medications were being forced on her. This wasn't care, this was control, and it becomes even more disturbing when you align this with Wendy's lifelong willingness to expose Hollywood.
We come from a very homosexual era of hip-hop as well. There was a radio personality once upon a time, her name was Wendy Williams, and she was practically burned at the stake for talking about such. And now it's all come full circle. There were many situations, none of which to talk about, but there were many situations back in the day in my career, and it's all coming full circle now, so.
Because if there is one thing Wendy has proven throughout her career, it's that she knows a lot more than she ever says publicly. She was one of the first to expose the underbelly of the industry in ways that made extremely powerful people uncomfortable. And the most dangerous of those people, at least in terms of how far his influence reached, was Diddy. Wendy spent years exposing rumors about Diddy that nobody else dared to touch: the whispers about his sexuality, the stories about his behavior behind the scenes, the suspicious events surrounding the club shooting involving Shine, and even the dynamic between Diddy and Cassie years before the lawsuit that shook the world. She openly discussed the Cancun email that allegedly showed him in a compromising position. She questioned why J-Lo ran from the scene that night. She dug into the stories other platforms refused to air. And Diddy didn't just disagree, he retaliated. He allegedly threatened Hot 97, telling them he would blacklist the entire station unless they fired Wendy. And when Wendy brought him on her show,
Puffy wants Cassie back.
Oh, it's been all over social media. Puffy posted a picture of Michael Jackson's song, Lady in My Life, and wrote, if anyone sees Cassie this weekend, please tell her to listen to this song 100 times. I suggest don't use social media, though, to reach out. I think this is a grand overture from Puffy. I don't believe he really wants her back. I believe he probably treated her at some particular point like a possession, like a possession. And if you really care, then you'd reach out privately, not publicly.
The interview turned unnervingly tense when Diddy brought up her 6-year-old son with a tone that felt more like a warning than a compliment, a moment Wendy herself reacted to with unease, knowing exactly what he was attempting to communicate. That was the era when Diddy's influence in the industry was nearly untouchable. And so, when Wendy disappeared into guardianship right as Diddy's legal issues resurfaced, right as lawsuits began stacking, right as whispers became headlines, right as stories she had mentioned decades earlier suddenly gained traction, it raised a massive, unavoidable question. Was Wendy silenced to protect Diddy? Because if Wendy were free, lucid, and speaking publicly during the explosive period of raids, accusations, and documentaries, she would have been the biggest, loudest, and most credible voice confirming old rumors. Her interviews would have gone viral.
As the mother of a now 16-year-old.
Who I met backstage,
He did?
He's a great young man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You represent a lot.
Her testimony would have mattered. Her memories would have been dangerous. And all of that aligns too cleanly with the timeline of her guardianship being enforced, extended, and weaponized. Yet right after Diddy's legal pressure suddenly slowed down, the court finally allowed her to get a new neurological evaluation, and magically, now she's not sick. Now her guardianship can be reconsidered. Now she can regain her voice. And the industry wants us to believe this timing is coincidental? Please. But this story gets even darker when you add Nicki Minaj's accusations to the mix. Nicki recently revealed that the same Hollywood machine behind Wendy's guardianship is now circling her. And according to her, Roc Nation and Jay-Z are using media figures, specifically Charlemagne, to slowly build the "she's unstable" narrative they need. And here's the terrifying part. Tasha K explained publicly that these guardianships only succeed when the celebrity is unmarried. Britney Spears wasn't married. Amanda Bynes wasn't married.
He ran out of the club so fast and got into the waiting SUV that it wasn't until he got into the truck that he realized that he left Jennifer behind, along with his bodyguard, Anthony Wolf. He just ran. Forget it. That's a true sign of an itch bag, by the way. Leaving his
I thought it was an unpay.
Well, eventually, Jennifer and Wolf made their way to the SUV without Puffy.
Right.
They ran 11 lights to elude the cops. Supposedly it was Puffy, although people are saying they saw a female hand tossing the window. And then when the cops stopped them, they found a second gun, of course, in the car.
Right.
All four of the occupants, the driver, the bodyguard, Puffy and Jennifer, were handcuffed and taken down to the precinct. And eventually, Puffy and his bodyguard, Wolf, were overheard talking about their plot to bribe the driver to take the rap for the. And Puffy was overheard saying, and I quote, because the prosecutor said this, "I can't go to jail, I'm Puff Daddy."
He was arrested with a deadly weapon. And
Wendy had already divorced, Michael Jackson wasn't married, and Kanye was separated when they tried to $5,150 him and build the erratic billionaire case. But Nicki Minaj, she's married. And that means legally, her husband controls her assets if she's declared unfit, not the industry. So what does the machine need to do? Destroy the marriage. And suddenly, look at the headline stories about Kenneth Petty being dangerous, irresponsible, embarrassing, draining her financially, harming her brand. When you zoom out, they aren't random attacks, they're groundwork. If you break the marriage, you break the protection. If you break the protection, you can diagnose her. If you diagnose her, you can control her. And this matches Wendy's experience exactly. Smear campaigns, sudden erratic behavior headlines, strategic isolation, financial control, and doctors signing off on diagnoses that do not match reality. It is a pattern, not an accident. In Wendy's case, once the guardianship was approved, her guardian gained the power to move her into facilities, remove her property, sell her belongings, and choose which medications she received, all without Wendy's consent. Her family wasn't allowed to visit. Her son wasn't allowed to speak to her. Fans would ask where she was, and nobody could answer. This is more than mismanagement, it is captivity wrapped in legal paperwork. And guardianships are extremely profitable. A guardian is paid from the celebrity's own accounts. The longer they keep the celebrity unfit, the longer the checks roll in. And Wendy's wealth wasn't small. She had decades of TV money, endorsement money, royalties, real estate, and investments. Controlling her financially wasn't just convenient, it was lucrative. This is why independent evaluations were blocked, because one honest doctor could ruin the entire setup. And eventually, that's exactly what happened. This forced the machine to shift from "she's too sick to function" to "she might be healthy enough to release soon, but only after the storm surrounding Diddy calmed down." And the industry hopes the public won't notice that the timing lined up perfectly. But we noticed. Everyone noticed. So now Wendy's legal team is preparing to petition for full termination of the guardianship, and if the judge refuses, they will demand a jury trial. A trial that would expose every lie, every diagnosis, every facility, every restriction, every financial decision, every prevented visit, every hidden motive, and every name connected to Wendy's disappearance. And that is what the industry is afraid of, because once Wendy starts talking fully, publicly, unapologetically, the dominoes that fall won't stop with her story. This becomes about patterns, about corruption, about a system that labels celebrities mentally incompetent when they become inconvenient, outspoken, or dangerous to powerful men. Wendy Williams was not crazy. She was targeted, and now she's finally free enough to expose who paid to destroy her. Now, I want to know what you think. Was Wendy silenced to protect powerful names? And do you believe Nicki Minaj is next in line for the same treatment? Let me know in the comments, because this story is only getting darker. And the more people dig into these patterns, the more you realize Wendy's case isn't an outlier, it's the blueprint, the industry's favorite trick, when someone becomes too loud, too observant, or too connected to the wrong secrets. In every one of these situations, the public is fed a narrative about concern and protection, but behind the curtain, it's always about control. Control of the money, control of the image, control of the silence. That's why Wendy's sudden clarity is so dangerous to the people who built their power on her absence. She's not just a former talk show host, they know she's a witness. She watched the industry move for decades. She knew the alliances, the manipulation, the favors, and the threats. And the moment she starts talking without restrictions, several careers and reputations are going to crumble under the weight of the truth she's been holding in. And now the industry is scrambling to rewrite their own narrative before Wendy gets the chance to rewrite theirs. You can already see the panic in how quickly they're trying to position her recovery as a miracle instead of an exposure, as though they can gaslight the world into believing this wasn't a coordinated effort to bury a woman who knew too much. But Wendy isn't playing along anymore. With every interview, every public appearance, every statement, she takes back a piece of the voice they tried to steal. And once the guardianship ends officially, there will be no more filters, no more PR middlemen, no more court-approved spokespeople, just Wendy, unedited. And when that happens, the truth these people spent years trying to cover up is going to explode in a way even they can't control. So stay tuned, because this next chapter isn't just about Wendy winning. It's about the industry finally being exposed by the very woman they tried to erase.